Solar empowerment. Worldwide, about 1.1 billion people have no access to electricity. Most of these people live in India and sub-Saharan Africa and must rely on government-subsidized kerosene to heat and light their homes, since electricity delivered by power lines is scarce. Using kerosene is not only costly for the environment, but is also expensive and a health hazard for those who use it. Kerosene lamps release pollutants that cause thousands of deaths from heart and lung problems every year, especially when combined with the pre-existing pollutants from coal-fired power plants. Those who choose to use other resources, such as rechargeable lithium batteries, must walk tens of miles every day to charge the batteries at charging stations in nearby cities. However, even these power stations are frequently subject to rolling blackouts, meaning they're only able to charge batteries for 2 to 3 hours a day. Also, the batteries themselves often leak, causing painful chemical burns. Because of this lack of suitable electricity options, an entire industry has developed for selling and leasing small solar-powered units to people in developing nations. This not only helps small businesses to grow globally, but also helps people in these rural areas to gain access to unlimited, inexpensive power. One of the most popular companies in India is a company called Simpa Networks, created by Paul Needham. This for-profit business leases 40-watt solar panels to individuals on a 35-cent per day basis in the hopes of helping to bridge the gap between the wealthy and the impoverished that has developed largely due to disparity in people's access to electricity. The majority of people living in rural India survive on less than $2 per day, so even just the 35 cents per day can put a large amount of financial strain on the families who choose to lease these panels. However, they are by far the best option available and actually allow families to keep their businesses open longer and allow their children to study after nightfall. The small orange unit charges for about 10 hours at a time and becomes especially helpful in the summer months, where fans help to cool families during the day and helps to keep their businesses well lit at night. One Simpa client, Mandel, has a sweet tea company that he bases out of his home in rural India. Thanks to these small solar-powered lights, he is able to keep his business open past nightfall. Since most people who buy his tea are travelers, and most people travel at night to avoid the heat, his ability to stay open after dark has greatly increased his profits. Another client, Shiv Kumar, has used his Simpa solar power to power fans in his poorly ventilated cement home. Before he started leasing solar cells from Simpa, the heat of the summer months put his family members in danger of having heat stroke. Though Simpa is a for-profit business, many nonprofits have also begun to get involved in providing power to people in less developed areas. For example, the Rural Women Light Up Africa initiative, started by UN Women in Barefoot College, has created a way to empower women by bringing education and ultimately electricity to women in rural communities. Communities sign up to partake in this initiative on a household-by-household basis. The cost is an initial $12 up front, followed by monthly installments that add up to about $37 per year. In return, households receive one 20-watt solar panel, one 12-volt battery, one cell phone charger, and 3 9-watt lamps. Women from the community not only receive benefits of having electricity, but they also become leaders in their communities because rather than simply selling communities these resources, this organization actually sends these women to India where they learn to read, write, and engineer solar panels before returning to their communities. In all, this initiative empowers women through increasing literacy and access to education, increases women's independence in communities, and ultimately saves them money they otherwise would have spent on kerosene lamps, cell phone charging stations in local cities, and health bills. Hundreds of companies and organizations like these exist throughout the developing world, ranging from small solar-powered lamp businesses like Simpa to larger nonprofit organizations like Rural Women Light Up Africa. For instance, the company Little Sun brings people energy independence by selling small solar-powered lamps in rural areas. However, Little Sun also helps to encourage communities to participate in entrepreneurship by selling the cells themselves. There is also a non-profit organization called Solar Electric Light Fund that helps empower rural communities in Africa by bringing solar kits that allow them to pump well water for crop irrigation. Though Western nations like the United States are far more developed than the areas in which the majority of these companies operate, the concept of empowering people through renewable energy initiatives is one that could certainly help empower communities, especially those affected by environmental racism. Most of the people in the United States who live in areas with high pollution and in areas that are most likely to suffer from power outages in hot months are people from minority and/or low-income families. If companies began bringing inexpensive solar to families in these areas, people would not only be able to save money, but they'd also be able to decrease their dependence on fossil fuel energy. In time, this decrease in demand for dirty energy could aid in the push for clean energy everywhere. This same concept applies to other areas of the world as well. In places like South Africa, rolling blackouts in the summer months occur disproportionately to areas with mostly low-income families. As such, small solar kits could help keep the lights and the fans on for families who need them, all while helping to keep fossil fuels in the ground and pollution out of the air.
Created using Powtoon.